Hanson faced quite a problem at its Repton quarry in Derbyshire when the closure of older coal-fired power stations meant that the supply of pulverised fuel ash to be used for fill dried up. With agriculture as the previously approved end use, the quarrying process had left a series of deep and regularly shaped cells awaiting PFA. A major rethink was needed and a new scheme was developed to create a range of wetland habitats, which also reflected new priorities of the planning authority. The man who was given the task of the redesign and its implementation was landscape architect David Southgate.
The landscape had to change drastically from that square rectangular nature and had to be redesigned into a more naturalised landform that suited a wildlife area, and so that was a complete about turn in the design, and we had to rethink everything right down to the details of where all the overburdens went now that were originally to cover the farmland, and they were used in making the shallows and the batters to the lakes, and so there was a whole load of details that had to be redesigned for the site.
The success of the rethink is clear to see, with an intricate mosaic of habitats from meadows through to wet woodland and from reed beds through to an open water and reinstated brook. The ecological diversity in a relatively small site is massive and contributes to the landscape scale enhancement of the biodiversity of the Trent Valley. With the landforming work done, the Derbyshire's Wildlife Trust took on the further development and management of the reserve. The success to date can be gauged from the fact that it has achieved its first target of persuading bittern to overwinter here. Declining species like lapwing and redshank are now breeding in the wet grassland, and little ringed plover are happy in the gravel areas. There are now also large populations of reedbed species like chetties, warbler, reed warbler and sedge warbler. The reserve is very accessible and highly popular with local walkers and bird watchers.
If you imagine this site previously, it was an operational quarry with very little bird interest. It was interesting for birds, but they were often just dropping in and then going out again because it's on a flyway, the Trent Valley flyway, so birds are naturally drawn to these wetlands, but the habitat just wasn't quite right for them. So restoring the site to nature conservation and creating habitats like lowland wet grassland and reed bed and open waters and islands have all made a massive difference to the birds because they can now come along, drop down and rest and feed up before they move on. And of course the net effect of that is if you've got some birds feeling confident and safe on a site, then they'll stay and breed or they'll stay for the winter.